When those thoughts are playing havoc and the mind is going wild, that's when you're not in the moment. As soon as you become conscious, it all slows down. That's the subconscious living. 60,000 thoughts a day, formed and half-formed. About 85% of those 60,000 thoughts are repeat of yesterdays, and they're negative. And they're repeat of the past lives. You can throw the word computer in every now and again, and a few modern words we have, but it's the same stuff. It's the same substance going on and on and on. When you're conscious, that all slows down. You know, I can sit without a thought for a long time. It's easy. Not simple. I mean, it's simple, but it's not easy. Let's get it right. It's very simple, but it's not so easy. But we can be inner quiet. Just inner quiet. All you've got to do is go outside and listen. Listening takes you into the moment. So what you hear, people think hearing is the same as listening. Of course it isn't. And so when you're listening, you have to stop thinking. You have to be in the moment, because that's where the sound is. And as soon as you start to learn to listen and you come into the moment, you realize, gosh, you can only think your way out of the moment. You can't think your way into it. And so listening. You sit outside or sit in the house and listen to music. Just listen. And your thoughts will be going, well, this is simple enough. Whoops, back to listening. Until there's just music and not a single thought. It takes a lot of practice, but it can be done. Most people believe, for instance, that they are a body. Then you're taught at school that the body contains consciousness, which is complete nonsense. We're not a body, we're a soul. Consciousness contains a body. The body doesn't contain consciousness. It does. It contains consciousness, but the consciousness still contains a body. And so when you begin to realize that you're a state of consciousness that is not a body and not in a body, but is already free, then you begin to think, well, okay, so why do I act as a body and as a personality, and why do I stay contained? Well, when I was a kid at school, I didn't realize it, but I was a very right-brained child in a very left-brained school. Of course, that's the way things are. And so these teachers I didn't particularly like in a private school, they would talk absolute nonsense to me. And I would gradually learn in my imagination to shrink them down until they were so small I couldn't hear them. And then in my imagination I would head off elsewhere. And I put it down to daydreaming. Well, then as I grew older, I learned that imagination, in fact, is a huge power. And only the great mystics and sages through the ages have ever learned the truth of imagination. Most people think, well, if you imagine it, it's not real. They don't realize that their imagination is creating their whole life, and that every death certificate should have on it misuse of the imagination. And that there are multitudes of stories that illustrate what I'm saying. And so I began to realize that we stay with our body because we imagine we're a body. And so a long time ago I began to imagine that I'm not a body. And I began to find an inner state of freedom. And as I explored that freedom, I one day realized, my God, what I did as a kid, now I'm taking it to another level and refining it. And so simply I learned that because I am a magnificent, metaphysical, multidimensional being of love and light, exactly as you are, and who's ever watching this is what we all are, because I realize I'm a being of light, and a metaphysical being, not a physical being at all, that's simply a game we play for a little while, then why would a metaphysical being be stuck with a physical body? And it isn't. Every night we go to sleep and we dream, the astral, metaphysical leaves the physical body. Otherwise we would die. And so some people learn to let go at night and have astral projection or OOBEs or whatever they want to call them. I learned to do that at any time of the day while I'm wide awake, even walking on a beach. And so I learned that the world that we know, the physical world, is just part of an illusion that holds us completely spellbound, that I could go past the illusion into what I call a greater reality. So I take metaphysical journeys away from the physical reality into a place where all time occupies the same space. So I can go back 500 million years or go forward if I wanted to. But I generally go, I have a traveller that goes with me, the spirit of nature. I travel with the spirit of nature, and it's not something I play with, although I am actually learning to play with. It expands my consciousness. If there's something I want to know, then I metaphysically explore it. I might read a paragraph in a book, and I look at it, and that triggers something in me. Then I explore that metaphysically and go into the experience of what it is. And long ago, I learned to trust that process. If you have unconditional love, you have trust. You can't have one without the other. They hold hands. And so it took many years to learn to trust myself. I mean, it took many, many years. But I've reached that place where I have full trust, and life always affirms what I've learned. I mean, I always find the affirmation and confirmation of that if I'm looking for it, if I need it. And so that's where today my main growing is. One, where you focus, energy flows. So I'm traveling around the world 4 or 5 months a year, teaching other people about unconditional love. So my focus with them is unconditional love. As they grow, I have to grow. If I was to say words that one of them gets hurt because I said the wrong words, then I get hurt. If they misuse the words that I said, and the words I said were truth, then I don't get hurt from that. If they misuse what I've said or misunderstand, but if I put it wrong with cleverness and etc., then I'm in trouble. And so through my teachings I grow, because where you focus, energy flows, so I grow. And then through my metaphysical traveling, which is the basis of all my books now, I grow through that, and I meet beings that are incredible, and I meet people who died long ago that have things they teach me. Why be a prisoner? You know, why be a prisoner when we're always been free? So being free, for me, has a deeper meaning than the intellectual understanding of that.
If you enjoyed this video, I would suggest that you share it with others. It's very important at this time that we mutually hold a vision of hope that allows us to create a new world that's based on love, joy, and freedom.